Hey guys, and welcome back to Let's Build a Steampunk City, Episode 10. This week, we are going to be turning our attention over to the residential district. As you probably can see already, I've already laid out where our houses are going with the wool and what they're going to be looking like. For our residential district, we're going with 4 different house archetypes, and we're going to copy and paste them throughout the residential district. In this video, I'm only going to be showing myself build 2 of the houses, the ones that are the most different. First house we're building here is going to be the L-shaped one. These houses are going to be fairly similar to the buildings we constructed in the market district, the ones that acted both as a shop and a residential building. The difference between the two is some minor details and the fact that on the first floor they aren't going to have those large windows that show the shop owner's goods. Instead, there's just going to be normal residential windows. One minor detail difference between these houses and the residential shops in the market district is the side columns are going to come out 1 block like that. The reason I like this detailing effect with the columns is it helps match the same effect that the second floor does of coming 1 block out from the first floor. So the top floor, unlike the bottom floor, is not just going to consist of only windows. It's going to have decks like this, and some of them will even have gardens. Then we move on to the front side of the L-shaped house, and I wanted the entrance, the doorway, to be very funky and different from all the other sides. So I got this sort of hourglass column effect where it starts off wide as 2 columns, it joins in the center together, and then it splits back up into 2 individual columns as you proceed up the building. And then in between those 2 columns, it leaves room to add a window. And then moving on to the 2 short sides of the house, I decided to connect the 2 with a deck on the second floor. One design theme I kept consistent throughout all the houses is the fact that the corners are made of the chiseled quartz block, then we have a column of normal quartz, and then we have our quartz pillar block. And on that column of normal quartz blocks between the pillar and the chiseled quartz block, we carve out, add some stairs, and stick a glowstone in there. This provides us with some lighting that we need, and it also makes it look like windows that just have the light on. And now we're adding in what appears to be a deck, but then I quickly fill it in with dirt, add some fences along it, and then stick some flower pots and add a window. This is where the garden is. So the person living in this house can open up their window, go ahead and water their plants, and they're all good. Now all that's left is the roof. We're sticking with our traditional steeped oak roof, and it's going to be crowned on each side by the white quartz block. And then the open faces where the triangle opens up is going to be filled in with our dark wood block and windows. So taking a break from this roof and going back to the foundation and layout of our residential district, we have 4 very different shaped buildings. We have this L-shaped building we're building right now, which is the red one. The green one is a perfectly square 13 by 13 building. Then we have our blue one, which is a 12 by 6, I believe, which is our smallest building. And then we have the orange one, which is a 16 by 10. And that giant pink outline in the background is where our inn's going to go. Circling around, you can see our first finished house in our residential district. The decks and gardens really help establish that this is a house and not a market. But now it's time to move on to our next house. The next building we're doing is the 13 by 13 perfect square house. With this house, we're going to repeat all the same themes we used in the L-shaped building, but repeat it for the square-shaped one. We're using the same corner effect with the glowstone, and the second floor is going to have the columns going left and right 1 block, all that fun stuff. One of the design features I've yet to mention are these corner adornments placed between the first and second floor on the corners. I drop down the quartz stairs 1 block, and then in that gap I add the stone slabs. This corner adornment helps break up the flat transition area between the first and second floor, while also adding some more color to our plain white building with that gray. And I ended up liking the effect so much, I decided to repeat it on the center panel as well. You might have noticed by now there's a lot of stair blocks in this build. If you ever want to add detail to a building, just throw a couple of stair blocks in there. It really helps out. As you can see here, I'm using it as a sort of door cover that leads out onto our deck. And on top of that, it's used for the columns. It's used for everything. Just use stair blocks, man. As I mentioned earlier, this is a 13 by 13 house, which means all the sides are symmetrical. So we did have an opportunity here to copy and paste our one completed side onto this side to all the remaining sides, but that does end up looking too cookie cuttery, and you don't want that. So you gotta resist the temptation, just go with a different design scheme. So here we added a window on the right side, and on the left side we have our garden patio. the last thing to do now for this house is build the roof. Because this is a square house and a thick one at that too, that means this roof is going to be the tallest of them all, as far as housing and markets go. As for the third and fourth building, the small blue one and the orange one, I went ahead and completed those off screen as it's just the same thing of what I'm doing here. When I originally planned out where these houses are going, I did not account for the fact that I'm going to be adding decks and flower gardens onto the second floors, which means I planned these buildings too close together. So I had to go back to the drawing board, fix out the layout, and copy and paste all the other buildings in, which was a strenuous task. Some of them fit in perfectly, but then I ended up cutting the footage here because I realized that it's not all going to work and I'm going to have to go back to the drawing board for some of the layouts here, in particular this third district in the corner, which was just a pain. As for next week, we're going to be heading over towards the front of the city to go and build the Grand Tinker's Palace. Without going into too many spoilers, it's pretty much going to be a palace based off of Western European palaces from the Renaissance era. With finally finishing all the copying and pasting of our houses, the residential district is finally complete. And with its completion, our city almost looks finished. We just got 3 large spaces open for the inn, the central tower, and the palace. If you liked the build, go and click that like button. If you want to see more from Let's Build a Steampunk City, click that subscribe button. And I'll see you guys next week. Joe Bolby out.